Welcome and thanks for tuning in to the Always Building podcast, hosted by Bobby Vickers and Matt Houchin. Episode 1 features Ben Alford of Alford Homes. Please enjoy. How'd you end up working in the family business?
Oh, it was a long and tedious journey, I guess you could say. I started, when I was 13, 14, my dad would go drop me off in the summers, basically, and say, here, go work for the framer, go work for the bricker, go work for the painter. I'll pick you up at 5 o'clock and don't pay him. I'll pay him. He did, very little, but paid me very little starting at 14. So then the second I turned 18, I think naturally I didn't want anything to do with any of that. That was hard, grueling summer work.
Right.
But looking back now, that taught me a lot of work ethic and all the good things that are about my character. I guess my work character now were forged back then when I was a young teenager, an up-and-coming boy. So 18, I tried everything from restaurant business to I was a door-to-door salesman in South Dakota. I was a roughneck in Wyoming. I did a little bit of everything. I was in HR for a little while. Not a freight broker, but I was working at a freight broker company. I did a lot of things. My philosophy, I guess, was in my 20s, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be figuring out what the heck I want to do with my life, where I don't have all the responsibilities in the world, where I can't just drop everything, where in my 20s I certainly could, hence Wyoming, South Dakota, stuff like that. So when I was about 25, I finally said, all right, stop running from the home building business, let's try it. So I started with a production builder as a warranty guy, fell in love with it.
You fell in love with warranty?
No, not warranty. I fell in love with the residential home building business. Per se, but warranty is a great place to start where you can learn what not to do.
But you didn't start with Alford?
No, I didn't. I didn't start with Alford. Absolutely not. You can't, your first job can't be building a house like this.
Right.
You'll fail and you'll get washed out real quick. So started in production, was warranty. Usually the warranty program back when I was there lasted 2 years. I was promoted to a builder in 4.5 months, which was nice. So I started building homes and then I got recruited to come here and been here ever since. So, and now I'm loving it. Let's just say that.
Right. And now you made a stop in East Texas for college. What time of your life was that?
I was right out of high school. So when I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there on an academic scholarship, not to tout anything, but I went there on an academic scholarship. I didn't finish.
Okay.
I don't think you have to finish to do this, but you've got to put your nose down and work really hard if you're not going to have a degree in something like this.
Same boat.
But yeah, that was it.
What about siblings? Do you have any other family in the business?
I do. So I've got 3 sisters and 1 brother, and none of which are in the business at all.
Got it.
It's just me.
Was your dad first generation? He started it kind of on his own. How did he?
Yeah.
You know much about that?
He grew up in West Texas, small town called Breckenridge, Texas, if you guys know where that's at. That's where he went to school. He moved here when he was 18 or 19. He went to a vocational school for a couple years. Got an associate's degree and moved here to be a frame carpenter. So he was framing houses, and then he also fell in love with it. And he's a very type A personality, and I think it takes that to do this and do it successfully. And he started running houses and started his own company in 2001. So that's 23 years ago.
And what are y'all known for as a builder?
Man, you're sitting in it.
Right. Right.
No, we're known for our attention to detail. Our communication with homeowners are second to none. That's it. We provide an experience. Obviously, we provide a home, but we also provide an experience for our homeowners that they can't really get anywhere else. It's very personalized. It's a very personal and emotional experience. This is an emotional buy. Buying a house, a lot of people, not necessarily in my particular market, but a lot of people, this is the biggest investment they'll ever make in their life. So there's a lot of emotions tied to that. And I think that we're very good at managing homeowners' emotions, managing homeowners' expectations, managing our own. We're very even keel. We've been doing it for a long time and know exactly what we're doing.
What does the process of building a custom home look like?
Oh man, how much time you got?
Yeah. So and I guess I would say, like, if you know you want to build a home, what type of time frames are we looking at? What are the phases, the stages of construction?
Maybe you could start with like a spec home, just so you don't have to get into the.
Well, I'll start like a homeowner. So first thing you want to do as a homeowner, find a builder, right? You got to find a builder to build your home, and you need to interview them and you need to vet them. I would encourage anybody that's looking to interview a homeowner, call their previous homeowners, ask them how their experience was. You want to make sure that they're financially responsible. Call their bankers. Nobody's going to give you out a sub list, but call their bankers, call their previous homeowners, look at reviews online,
Sure.
look at things like that, and obviously interview them. Me as a home builder, when a homeowner comes to me and wants to buy one of my houses or wants to build with us, it's a two-way street. They're not just interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. So it's the same thing. If we're about to get into a relationship for at least, well, the warrantable period now is 6 years, but the building process is about 1.5 to 2 years. So we're about to get in a very personal relationship for a 1.5, 2 years. And I want to make sure that we talk about how we're going to handle, it's just like a marriage almost. So it's the same way. You've got to be able to handle friction. You've got to be able to handle arguments. You've got to be able to handle when things go wrong, because inevitably that will happen. Something's going to go wrong. It's construction. It's the last thing built by hand that we make. It's homes. It's things like that. So something's going to go wrong. So if you don't have a good process to handle conflict, it's going to go south very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because I think the good builders, the good contractors, they really want the homeowners to do the research.
Yeah.
Because they're more than likely going to find their way to them.
Yeah.
Because the ones that just kind of shoot by the seat of their pants and, hey, let's get going, then you kind of get what you walked yourself into.
You get tangled up.
Yeah.
But you're right. No, I encourage everybody, research us, look us up. Any good builder would encourage that type of research because they have nothing to hide. We're very transparent with our process, very transparent in how we do business.
Right.
Why wouldn't we be? You're trusting us with a lot of money, and that's where you're going to live. You don't want to do anything halfway.
So you find a lot, the homeowner, the customer finds a lot. I like this, I want to stay here. I want the house to be here.
Sure.
Then what?
Okay, so you find a lot. You have an idea about plans. You get with me. We sign a preliminary contract to build on your lot or our lot, whatever it might be. Obviously, you got to put down a deposit. Then we start the design process. So we'll call an architect. We've got a few good architects that we use, but we use one predominantly.
Good. I was going to say, name names if you want, but what does Alford do? Who does Alford trust?
Yeah.
How do they go about finding the architect, the designer, which may be the first, just as important sometimes as the builder?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The architect, because that's where everything starts, right? So the architect, we'll use mine in-house typically is what I'd like to do. Now, some homeowners will come to me with their own architects, which is, it's okay. It's a fine process.
Yeah.
But know that some of these new architecture firms, not necessarily new, some of the current architecture firms they want to be more involved in the entire process. I want an architect to draw me a set of plans and hand me a set of plans, and then I won't talk to you again, honestly, during the whole process.
Okay.
I like that because I'm the builder. A lot of times an architect won't really know the functionality of what they're drawing. Sometimes it just doesn't work. It doesn't work the way that they draw it. But out here in the field, we can figure it out and do it the correct way that we know and has been proven over and over and over again. Yeah. So I really encourage our homeowners to go with our architects. He knows what he's doing. He can draw a great set of plans. B, he's probably half the price of a big architecture firm.
Yeah.
And that's a huge chunk of change right up front that you could save by using our guy.
What about styles? What if somebody comes to you and they want this modern glass box, but that's not what you've built in the past? Are you open to all design ideas from homeowners, or do you like a specific style?
Absolutely. You can come to me, build a treehouse. I'll build a treehouse. It does not matter to me. I will build whatever you want, however you want it, whenever you want it. So I'll do it regardless of if it's not a style that's in my repertoire or whatnot. Now for spec homes, when I start spec homes, which is the majority of our business, obviously you got to appeal to the masses, right? So we build things that the majority of people in this marketplace want and like. Hence the Mediterranean style house we're sitting in now.
And when you say marketplace, do you think of the marketplace as Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas, or the neighborhood?
Oh, when I say marketplace, I mean anybody with the kind of money to build these homes. That's who I'm talking about. So we have a lot of out-of-towners coming in from New York, California, Chicago. They come from everywhere. So I don't limit myself to this bubble that we're in Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't do that.
Right. And how long does the process take normally from the time somebody says, hey, I'd like to work with you, let's start designing? How long until you can break ground from that design phase?
So that's a good question. There's
Average,
a lot of things.
Or ranges, right?
Yeah, there are different ranges.
Sure.
So there are a lot of things that go into that. Obviously, I can't just say, hey, carte blanche, 6 months, we'll start your house. I can't say that. Some people want 4, 5, 6 revisions of a floor plan before they actually
Sure,
finalize things.
sure.
But on average, I would say about 6, 8, 10 months or so to start on plans. And then your next hurdle is going to be the city. So every city's different. So if I'm building in Preston Hollow, that's actually Dallas proper. I can get a permit in 2 hours. If I'm talking Highland Park, University Park, it might take 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks. So
What's the communication with the homeowner like during that phase? Are they asking for updates, or do they know kind of based on where they're building, it's going to take, said number of months?
we don't, like I said, we're very transparent. I don't leave anything to chance. I don't want anybody guessing anything.
Right.
So of course I tell them up front, hey, the last one we got, it took 8 weeks. The one before that only took 4 weeks. So there's no telling with the cities, and they've got a bunch of overturned right now with all their employees and things. So
You mean the city's not run
it's
well?
kind of,
The city departments aren't?
I'm for
that efficient?
I'm
You
for
heard
less
it here
government.
first, folks.
I'm for less government. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it just all depends on the city and the
But
jurisdiction.
let me ask you this: as a homeowner or the customer, what would you say the most like stressful or anxiety-ridden part is for them? The design, architectural design phase or the building phase?
Oh, definitely the building phase,
Okay.
for sure, because there are so many variables and so many things up in the air, so many plates spinning. There's a lot of stuff going on when you're building a house, where especially when you're coming down to the end and they're selling a house and they've got to get into this house and, oh crap, well, it's rained for 3 weeks. I can't really do much about the rain. And they don't really understand. Well, they understand it, but they don't like the answer that I'm giving them.
Right.
We have a saying at our company is bad news at the right time is never bad news, but bad news at the wrong time is terrible news. So you say stuff up front, you try to set expectations the best you can. Again, an emotional purchase, those set expectations don't always work out.
Yep.
But you try to do everything you can to foresee the future. That's what makes a good builder good too.
And does it make sense that before you break ground, all the design decisions are made? So that way you can hit the ground running?
Absolutely not. So
Okay.
when we get done designing the set of plans, so we got a floor plan, things like that, we talk about, while we're designing these plans, we also talk about what you want to put in your home. So we could do a $100,000 appliance package. We could do a $60,000 appliance package. It all depends on what you want. So while we're designing the home, we're getting ideas for a set of specifications that you have. It's probably a 8-page document that says literally everything that goes in the house, from the type of foundation, the type of framing, the type of sheathing I use,
Got
the
it.
type of decking, the rafter size, literally everything. So there's nothing to question. So that gets our roof, that gets the outside facade. But as far as they can vary or change from that as much and as often as they'd like. That's the point of being 100% custom. If somebody changes their mind, happy to do it.
Right.
It's going to cost you X amount of time and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars to do
Right.
it.
Yep.
Happy to do it, but just know that that's what's going to happen when you do make those changes. I've never built a house where there hasn't been a change, ever.
Even in a spec home?
Even in a spec home.
Okay. Something will come up from somewhere, you want to include it, incorporate it, you got to
change
do
it,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely, because we've got a designer that we've worked with Dad's worked with her for, golly, 30 years or so, and I've worked with her for my entire time at Alford. But she's human. She likes changing her mind too, and that's okay.
Sure.
But she's also coming from a standpoint of, I really think this is going to sell the house.
Okay.
I really think this is going to show a whole lot better.
This makes sense for the money. That kind
And
of
she
thing.
makes those
Yeah.
change decisions at the correct time, not after I've done things. And that's key too, to all the homeowners out there.
Yes.
Make your decisions at the correct time. When you change them after the ball's already rolling, that's when things get really difficult and they get more expensive. Not because the builder's trying to gouge you, but because you've already paid somebody to start work. You're not getting that money back, and you got to pay all over. So it's just part of the process. So my advice to homeowners, not that anybody, this is unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking me this stuff, but make up your mind and keep it that way. It's just a whole lot easier for everybody in the process. Things can fall through the cracks if you're changing too often.
Yeah. And yeah, from my point of view, been working with builders since 14, 16, like you. There's some horror stories out there for the, the relationships, because it can be stressful. Because, like you say, it's such an emotional experience and situation and decision.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
more you can have up front, the better off you are.
Sure. And it's about communication styles, right? So everybody has their own unique communication styles. So as soon as you can figure that out with a homeowner, or as soon as a homeowner can figure that out from a builder, the process goes a whole lot smoother if you can communicate.
Yeah. So there's like a master document so that everyone knows this is what goes here. You have it. The homeowner has it.
Absolutely.
It gets into your sub's hands. So everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely.
At every stage, how are you communicating with your customers about what they expect to see? Because I imagine your customers, if they're nearby, they're driving by checking.
Oh,
go, hey,
absolutely.
Ben, why is it nobody's been at the site in a week, right?
Yeah.
So how do you anticipate and communicate what's to come with them? Is it just a phone call?
Phone call, emails, texts.
Yeah.
It's all the modern ways of communicating now. I don't use any kind of builder software.
Okay.
I don't find a lot of us being lean and mean like we are. I mean, there are 4 people in our company and we're looking at hiring a 5th. So
Okay.
there's not very many. With a company that small and tight knit, we don't really need the big communication styles to where the right hand knows what the left hand is doing.
Sure.
We know that because we're all very close knit group. We're all family. It's
very personal.
All 4 of us. Yeah, it is very personal. So we know what's going on where we don't really see a benefit in that in our particular business model.
Right.
Now, I do see where that's beneficial for somebody that's got 6 project managers running around running 25 houses, then that's a whole lot easier to
Sure.
pull up my computer to see where each house is rather than visiting every site.
Is that something that you want to get to in your business, is to where you've got 4 or 5 PMs out there, 20, 30 projects?
No,
Okay.
I don't, for a couple reasons. One, managing people is difficult. You get a lot of houses, a lot of business like that. You've got to manage a ton of people, a ton of people's personalities, a lot of their expectations being employees. And honestly, your overhead grows obviously too. So your profit margins shrink at that point when you get into that level of building. And honestly, I don't know that our particular market, being in the park cities and stuff, can handle 30 of my type houses.
Okay.
With just me, including all the other home builders. That's too many.
Sure.
That would saturate the market a little bit. And obviously, I got to find money to do it too. So
Right.
and that's hard to find these days, especially with the interest rates.
What about hiring? Have you hired anyone recently, or do you have much turnover in your business?
I do. So internally with us 4, we have 1 project manager and then I run projects too. It's a very stressful job. I'll say that. It's difficult. It's hard. You've got to be organized. You've got to be bright. You've got to be sharp. If you can't do some of those things, then this is probably not the industry for you. But we have a lot of turnover in project management. They get paid very well for what they do, but they have to do it at a very high level. And when they don't, if they slip up in one little spot, you got to think, our customers too. Somebody that has this type of money is incredibly intelligent. They are a great negotiator and they'll get it, period. So if you aren't confident and strong and smart enough to stand up to somebody like that and just say, I'm sorry, that's not in your specifications. Here's what it's going to cost to do that. Happy to do it, but here's what it's going to cost. If you're going to let somebody run over you, that's my homeowner will run over you. And that's happened several times in the past with my project managers, and they've cited being too stressful, they don't like it, too much going on, stuff like that. And then I've had to fire a few too. So I definitely need one that sticks if anybody's looking.
What do you look for when you hire someone? Are you looking for experience, or just the ability to go and do and the desire for the job?
So I've done it a couple different ways. So I've looked at young guys, 22, 23, 24, fresh out of college, don't know much, but know that they want to be in the home building industry, or have done it for a few years for a small time production builder where they're running 30 houses at once for $300,000 a house or something like that. So I've tried that route. That hasn't worked for me, mainly because since we are so lean and mean, our training program is not that extensive. I need a worker. I don't need somebody in training. So I've also hired guys with experience that have come in and said they had experience, and they come in and they can't do a dang thing. So it's just kind of, I look for experience, but now I'm trying to hone in more specific experience. Building this level, this echelon of home is what I'm looking for now.
Not to bring the bad habits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bring your bad habits. And I'm okay breaking habits, but you got to know how to build a house. Like, I cannot be riding your coattails every stinking day. I'm not a micromanager. And if I have to be, then this job isn't for you. I need a self-manager.
And so you probably know, because what a client will call you and say, hey, I'm working with this PM and it's just not happening.
Oh, man.
Is that usually how that goes?
Yeah. If a client starts calling me when I'm not their project manager, yeah, that's a big red flag. Don't call me.
That's fair.
I mean, obviously they can call me. I'm an open book. But
Yeah.
to my project manager, if your homeowner calls me, that's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah. You're right. You have to be good at your job, and you also have to be, have some social smarts, be able to kind of handle some situations.
Yeah. And I'm looking at somebody to do the job. And if they're calling me, then they're not doing their job, but they're not doing what I hired them to do. So
Can you tell us a little bit about the house that we're in today here in Highland Park?
yeah, absolutely. The address is 4301 Armstrong. It's currently for sale. $15.8 million is what we're asking for this. It's a beautiful corner lot at the corner of Armstrong and Douglas. It's an incredible Mediterranean style home. So you've got level 5 finishes throughout the home. You've got a floating cantilevered staircase right here, which is really beautiful. We've got all 8-inch wide true natural wood flooring. Now this is pre-engineered, pre-finished. And the beauty of that is if an ice maker leaks, if you spill something, you don't have to sand and refinish the entire house. You can pop out a couple boards, pop in a couple more, and you're done. So that's the beauty of this. Also, you can get the wider plank without all the cupping and things that you would get with a natural wide plank, which is great. All solid core doors, obviously. Great paints, eggshell paint throughout, so it's all washable, which is very nice. You've got a contained wine unit. You can pump humidity into it if you want. It's not currently set up for that, but it's available. We also have a sauna in here, huge master bath with a private walkout to what could be a private spa. Right now it's just a water feature.
I'll try that before we lock up.
No, you won't.
Why are his pants in here?
Trust me, it would have never been used before. But all the sliding doors, sliding pocket doors, which are really beautiful. And then it comes with an allowance for a pool or landscaping or whatever you want to. So it's a great house.
Oh, to be designed later kind of thing?
Yep. I found in spec homes, if I do anything extravagant in landscaping or pool, whoever buys the house will have very specific tastes. And they will very rarely ever match mine.
I didn't actually think about that, but that's very smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll give you an allowance to do those things, so they can match your tastes.
Do you know the square footage top of your head?
Yeah. So 4301 Armstrong. It's 10,860 square feet, and that's living feet or AC space. We have 6 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms, including the sauna that I had mentioned, the enclosed wine unit and wine storage, which is great.
Now, you mentioned when we toured this last week that you have a second master. Why did you do that?
We do. So we did that for a couple different reasons. We're kind of seeing multi-generational living kind of creep its way back into our culture. And I think that's a lot because of what's going on in our economy right now. It's very difficult to buy something or put your parent in a home or things like that. So either people would move, we think people will start to move their elderly parents in with them, or even possibly their children in with them and their grandkids in with them.
Yep.
So we started doing that in this level of home. Not all of our spec homes, but this one.
What's the feedback been from people that you show it to?
Oh, everybody loves the house. It's incredible, right?
Right.
It is.
We've had a little constructive criticism, which is fine. I'm always open to that. But 9 out of 10 love it.
Right.
It's just going to take this will take a very special person, a very specific buyer. And we knew that going in. And that's fine.
And whenever you build a spec home, does it typically hit the market, or is somebody coming in during construction? What's that process for y'all normally look like?
This is the first home we've actually finished as a spec house in about 7 years. So it's been a long time since we've had one that finished before it sold. But again, we expected that at this price point for sure, which is completely fine. But the majority of them sell usually at trim stage or frame stage.
Okay.
Trim being all the millwork gets installed and somebody can actually see what the house is going to feel like and look like, things like that. Or they'll come in at frame stage and they get to customize whatever they want because obviously nothing's been installed yet.
Right. Yeah, it's so hard for me to consider this a spec home just for the bad vibes that word can get sometimes with being a spec builder.
Well, and so I was going to ask, so what is a spec home? What is this? Is there a differentiation between a custom home builder and a spec home builder, or do most people do both?
That's just all how your model's set up. I would think that most people would do both, but it's all, again, depending upon how much fiduciary responsibility you have. It all depends on how your business is set up. And ours is set up. We're probably 80% speculative home and 20% build to suit.
And what does speculative home mean for anyone that doesn't?
I'll go out and I'll secure the land. I'll procure the lot. I'll secure the financing. I'll secure the money. I start building the house as if I'm the homeowner. And then I'll sell it to.
And that's what I meant was, I guess, where the bad vibes or juju comes from it. When you hear some of the guys in our industry, you hear spec homes or a spec builder. It's when they're building 75 to 100 homes. Little cookie cutter. They all look the same. But that is not the case here whatsoever.
No, that's not our business model at all. Now, we like, obviously, build-to-suits. That's great because they're sold, right? We don't have any risk once they're sold. Our risks goes away. So that's kind of the whole point of that. But we're not a spec builder where we're not going to sell the house until it finishes and you have zero say in anything that goes in the house. There are some guys out there that do that, and on this level of home, they'll do that. That's not how we like to do it. We like somebody to come in and have the opportunity to do whatever they'd like, build their dream home.
Right.
That's what I'm in the business of doing, is building the house that you want.
How many trades go into building, I guess you could say any home, but a home like this, how many trades would you say?
That, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know,
lot,
probably,
right?
golly, 75, 80, somewhere
Wow.
around there. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question about this. Would you say or not say that the buying a home this way has the potential to save the home or the end buyer tons of money, other than coming in and they're building it because that way you can really easily turn a $15 million home to a $20 million home if they're left to their own devices.
Well, I'm not going to say you would save any money. Per se. Somebody like this, somebody that buys this kind of a home, is not worried about that extra $2-3 million in expense. They'll want what they want and they'll get what they want.
That's fair.
That's part of it. But what it does is buying a spec home, it saves you a lot of time.
Right.
So, that 6, 8, 10 months I was talking about at the beginning, you don't have to go through all of that. If you're looking to move in now or quicker, heck yeah.
Yeah. See it. I love it. I'll take it. Done. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
That makes
So
sense.
that saves, if somebody buys one at frame stage, that boom, they just cut off 10 months of their building process.
Yeah.
Or build time, which is nice.
How do you decide what vendors and new products to use? Because I imagine how many homes do you build a year?
We have 8 under construction now.
Okay.
We're 7 to 10.
Okay.
Not very many.
So how do you know, or how do you find new vendors and new products in the marketplace to try in your homes? Or do you always stick with tried and true?
I don't know. I'm always learning. I'm always open to figuring out what's new, what's cool. Not necessarily what's trendy, because trends fall off.
Sure.
But we're very classic to where our styles stick for years and years and years. I'm not doing like the old 70s pink toilets or the green tubs, things like that. Those are the fads that I tried to kind of stay away from.
Okay.
Now, if somebody wants that in their house, absolutely, I'll do it. But for a spec home, classic, true style, great quality, that's what I look for. But we keep our finger on the pulse of the market everywhere, from our realtor, from our designer, from us. We're always looking for what's the next cool thing.
Right.
And also, I'll trust a lot of my vendors too. A lot of my vendors will tell me, I'll ask them specifically, hey, what are you seeing out there?
Okay.
What have you done anything recently that's like really cool and new? Like, tell me what's coming up, because they're the industry professionals too.
Right.
I'm not so.
It keeps it fun too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I'm not so stubborn to think that somebody else's idea is invalid because it's somebody else's. Absolutely not, dude. We're all a team. Without you guys, I couldn't build a house. Without all of my other guys, couldn't build a house. They're what makes the house.
Right.
I'm just the guy that manages the customer.
Right. You have
And
a hard job.
all of them. So yeah.
How do you decide where to save and where to spend when you're talking to a homeowner? So like, let's take a roof, right? Do you talk with the homeowner about the different kind of major components and talk about, we have this version and this one, and here's a slight price difference? Or how do you kind of talk about product selection when it comes to that?
That's a good question. So majority of my homeowners come to me knowing what they want already.
Okay.
Now, if they don't, which some of them come to me and don't know what they want, and I'm happy to guide them along that journey and that process to get exactly what they want. So yes, we do samples of all of these different roofs. Obviously, we'll talk about price differences.
Sure.
I view myself as a steward of my homeowner's money, and I try to be a really good steward. I'm not going to spend like just bukus of money just because it's not my money. I don't care.
Right.
That is not at all my philosophy. I think that there are ways that you can cut and not lose the quality of the home. And I try to offer those up where I see them fit. And one is a roof. Like this one here is a true Spanish clay tile, comes from Spain. There are lightweight concrete versions that look very similar, but they're not true clay. So if somebody wanted that look, we can certainly do that for, 30% less.
So do you have that natural material versus synthetic material conversation? Kind of feel out where they are?
Yeah. And I can put a clay roof next to a synthetic roof. The clay roof is going to get chosen 1,000 out of 1,000 because it looks great. But guess what you're not doing? You're not putting those next to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a place where I would save money, something like that.
Makes sense.
And how does it work whenever, I imagine when homeowners come in, they just have like these mood boards, Pinterest boards. And so you have to kind of decipher that and say like, okay, so are you going like hunting and finding all the products for them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have an in-house design team that's I won't give her name, but she's been working with us for years and decades and all this good stuff. And she's really great at what she does. So we will show, it's a back and forth with the homeowner. So their designers, sometimes they bring in third-party designers, which is perfectly fine too. They'll work with me and our team trying to figure out exactly what they want. So that comes with, we give them inspiration. Here's what we've done in the past. Here's what we see that's really cool. Or they can give us Pinterest boards, or they have house accounts, stuff like that they can send me pictures and say, I want this. And then that's perfectly fine. I'm the guy that can get that done for you.
What are the biggest changes that you've seen maybe in the past 5 or 10 years of what people weren't asking for then that they're asking for now in their home?
I don't know that there's a specific product or a specific design element that they haven't asked for and they are now.
Okay.
I think the majority of them are incredibly more detailed now as a homeowner. There's a lot more information out there where I'm not the only industry professional. Obviously, some of these homeowners think that they are industry professionals.
Well, they saw it on Instagram, right?
Yeah, and that's, again, perfectly fine. Like, I am okay with that. I will tell you why that will work or why that won't.
Okay.
Based off of my experience and based off of things that I have seen in the field, not just a pretty picture.
Right.
So if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to find out a way to make it work that might just be a little bit different, but it'll work better for everybody in the long run.
Is there anything particular about this home that you wouldn't put in one of your, because we're at a different price point here.
Yeah.
I mean, what are there, maybe 5 or 10 homes at this price point and above
Ish.
nearby?
Yes.
And so what is something that went into this home that maybe wouldn't go into a home, significantly less than this?
A lower
Besides
cost,
just space, right?
Sure.
We're in a bigger space, but what elements of the home are different?
the drywall finish, a level 5 drywall that consists of a thicker drywall, so it's 5/8 inch instead of 1/2 inch.
So you're talking about after framing, they're going to put on a thicker piece of drywall.
Correct. And what that does is the whole point of texture, the whole idea of texture is to hide imperfections, right?
Okay.
So when you have a very smooth wall that doesn't have texture like we have here, there's going to be a lot of imperfections.
Yeah.
So
Lots
that's
of
why
blue tape.
lots of blue tape, lots of waviness and things like that, unless you thicken up the drywall. The thicker the drywall, the more rigid the house is, the less of those waves and imperfections you're going to see.
Okay.
Because you're not going to have texture to cover it up. So that's a huge upgrade that's here. The cantilevered stairs, I would never do that in a house that's, our bread and butter is $6 to $7 million houses.
Okay.
So I would never do that in one of those houses. That stair alone would blow anybody's budget out of the water. That's something I wouldn't do. The sauna, the large sauna, probably wouldn't do that in a regular home. The wine rooms are pretty standard for us. That one's about twice the size of what I typically would do
Okay.
in a press and hollow type home. But
And the double sliders going out.
the double sliders, that's a good
Beautiful,
point.
Yeah.
So we do those in a lot of houses, but typically it would just be one or the other.
Yeah.
Because that's a $60,000 door
You've got 2 of them.
Times 2.
times 2.
Times 2.
And they're automated too. So I'm sure
Right.
you guys will see that later.
With screens.
With the phantom screens too. Indoor living, outside.
And then what about, I know we talked a little bit about this Friday, but what about like things that are handcrafted versus just things you can buy? Is there a price point where you can't really get the handcrafted items where you can if you're willing to spend where we are today at 15, 16 million?
Man, everybody's different.
Okay.
I don't really want to put, because anybody, you can buy a $6 million house and spend $8.5 million on the thing if you want to.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster when you buy my home. Do whatever you want.
Right.
And I say do whatever you want. I also play the devil's advocate a lot. So even though they have these big, grandiose, awesome, really cool ideas, I'm the guy that's kind of tugging back down on that balloon, bringing them back to earth, saying, we can do that,
Right.
but that's going to be $350,000. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. That's
Sure.
my role in the process too, is I'm kind of the bumpers on the bowling alley,
Okay.
keeping
like
things
that.
realistic.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, you may or may not disagree, but a great cabinet guy can make a house look way better.
I've got a great one. I'm not telling you his name.
Yeah.
When the paneling that you have
yeah.
throughout in this
They
house
just,
is
it'll
unreal.
set it up.
carpenter
You
is
can
awesome.
tell the difference between the trim guy, the trim guys are, because you said custom, kind of handmade.
Sure.
If you have that custom high quality trim carpenter cabinet guy, it's
Like the
Makes
mantle.
a difference. Yeah.
The mantle gets me.
I'll say that about every single one of my trades are cream of the crop, tip of the top. I rarely use the cheapest guy. I want to use the best guy. And the reason being is because we have, and no, don't raise your prices. I heard that. Please don't do that. You guys aren't the cheapest guys either, so don't raise your
That's
prices.
fair. That's fair.
But I don't want somebody coming into a level of home like this thinking, God, why did they not do this? Why? I don't want anybody to think I cut any corners because I
I don't
didn't.
know where you would
Right.
find that though.
No, it's not been the
Yeah,
integrated dimmable LEDs under the
I mean,
stairs.
yeah, it's the same thing. We could have spent $20 million on this
Yeah.
house if we wanted to. But we
What
didn't.
would that look like?
Oh, it would fly.
And well, I have
It
a
would
question
float.
there. Where do you? And this might be impossible to answer, but you said you could have made 20, could have put a 10 million
Yeah.
here. Do y'all have? Where do you come up? Where do you start to try to figure
Yeah.
out where your peak needs to be or where the amount is? Is it the property? Is it the location? Is it, man, we could really do something special here, or is it kind of?
Well, like I said, it depends on the lot. So the lot really dictates
okay.
a lot, and the location. Like I said, we always keep our finger on the pulse of the market and see what things are doing.
Right.
Obviously, if I go to Preston Hollow, where all the comps are selling for $4, $5, $6 million, and I put a $15 million house in there,
Yeah,
it's not going to sell.
that makes sense.
So I've got to do my research first. We haven't been in business this long by just shooting from the hip.
Shotgun
That's not who we are. We're very calculated, and we're very researched on what we do.
Perfect.
If somebody comes to you to build a home, but it's priced way out of the neighborhood, let's say that somebody wants to build the 15 million in a $5 million neighborhood, you'll just tell them, hey,
I'll be upfront with them.
Yeah.
I'll
What
say,
you're doing
hey,
here? Yeah.
everything else is selling for X. I'm more than happy to put that in here, but you're going to have a really hard time reselling it and getting
Right.
your money back.
right,
Just so you know.
yeah,
Again, honest, upfront communication. That is what we stand on. We're referral based. We don't do a lot of marketing. This is probably the most marketing we've done is this. But we don't do things like that because we don't have to. It's all
Right.
word of mouth. We have repeat home buyers. We have repeat owners that have come back to us for a reason. They don't do that if they had a really crappy experience.
right.
So
And that's
that's
saying
what sets us.
something with
That's what
builders,
sets
yeah.
us apart.
It really is. Because like you said, things are going to happen during construction. So if you manage that well, you can have a relationship into the next property, where if you don't,
Sure.
you're missing out. Ben, these timbers are probably older than all of us put together. Can you tell us
Oh.
about them?
For sure. So these are one of a kind, unique. These are actually from old torn down barns. They're a hand hewn with their axes. You can see the axe marks on them.
Yeah.
You can see the wooden pegs that they used to use for nails. That kind of says their age. I want to keep them rustic. I don't want to finish them. I don't want to do anything. They're obviously fumigated for bugs and things.
Okay.
So we're not bringing any kind of ancient bug into your. We're not doing a mummy situation here.
No
or anything
pandemics
either.
bringing it, coming in.
But you see the mortise and tenon joints, you see all the natural things. I would say that's kind of a signature in our homes. It just
Okay.
adds a little bit of a rustic feel, but with all the modern things, all the modern comforts in life. These are all different species too. These are pine, some are white oak, some are red oak, some are hemlock. It just kind of depends on, I look for color. I don't necessarily look for species. I want all
Okay.
the beams in one room to match. So these are probably not going to be the exact same color as what I've got in a bedroom.
Do you go and pick these out and say, I want this one, this one, this one? Or do they just say, here's so much linear feet cut to size?
I don't. So these are, I'll send them exact dimensions of what I need,
Okay.
widths, heights, lengths, all that good stuff. What side I want sawn. This one goes on the ridge. These are
Okay.
going up the rake, things like that. I'll be specific in my dimensions that I tell my supplier. But as far as species and things, we've worked together for years. He knows exactly what I like and what I want. And that the first few houses, obviously, I went all the way to his shop to check them out, to look at them before we got them. But after that, absolutely, man, I trust him. Just like I do with all of my guys. If I can't trust them, then see ya.
Yeah,
And-
beautiful.
And as a novice, are these structural or purely
Nope,
decorative?
all aesthetic.
Okay.
Nothing structural about those. Now they used to. They were torn down from old barns in Amish country, Ohio River Valley, Louisiana. Sometimes they're from everywhere.
Okay. What about so talk to me about the HVAC vents, because this is the first time I've seen a home with ductwork that doesn't
Decorative.
look like
Yeah.
ductwork. Yeah.
Sure. So these are linear vents. The house is specifically engineered to fit each one of these boots. Because if you think about how a ceiling joist runs, if you've got a vent running perpendicular to your ceiling joist, you can't just cut your ceiling joists. You got to have a way to header them off. So we think about all of this stuff from the start. We'll get our HVAC layout as soon as we're finished with plans to get the engineer all the information that he needs. And they don't really serve any functional purpose. They work just as well as any other AC boot. It's just an aesthetic. It's a cool look, and they kind of disappear. And I want vents to disappear. I don't want to see them in a house like this. I would not. That's another thing I would not put in a lower standard house. That is a very upper end thing.
we're going to do a section called This or That, where I'll talk about a product, set of options, and then you just tell me which one you prefer and why.
Sure.
Sound good?
Absolutely.
Let's start with stainless steel or paneled appliances in the kitchen.
Oh man, that's a personal preference.
Okay.
They can look beautiful both ways. I prefer the panel because again,
Okay.
I want things to kind of disappear and look like a cabinet. I think that's a more elevated look than just a stainless steel. But personal preference.
Sure. Sub-Zero or Wolf appliances?
Both Sub-Zero and Wolf.
Okay. How do
So-
you mix and match them?
So our Sub-Zero are basically all of our fridge, all of our refrigeration units, our drawers, our big ones in the kitchen, and then Wolf for our big ranges. We do 60-inch Wolf ranges with cooktops on them. So we
Beautiful.
do both.
Beautiful. Okay. Painted kitchen cabinets or wood kitchen cabinets?
Again, another loaded question.
Just for the record, I kind of knew this was going to be a both.
No, that's okay.
situation,
This is not a both situation for me, but it depends on the overall vibe, the overall look of the house you're going for. You don't want, if you don't have stained wood anywhere else in your house, you're not going to stain your kitchen cabinets. But I like the stained kitchen cabinets just because it adds a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a little contrast to what the walls would be.
Okay.
So I like the stained. Now you pay an incredibly high premium for stained, but I prefer those.
Tell me your thoughts on subway tile.
Subway tile, I think it's great if you really want tiles somewhere and you don't want to spend any money doing it. But subway tile is boring.
Sure.
It's old. It's kind of played out. That was more with the modern farmhouse look that's kind of dissipated on us the last few
So
years.
you're saying that the modern farmhouse is dead or dying?
In this market, I would say yes.
I agree, yeah.
And what is modern farmhouse?
Oh, the
Rustic, white, but
yeah.
you know, it has its modern, instead of the more, it doesn't go all the way rustic. You have modern fixtures, modern
White House, black windows
exteriors.
type
Yeah.
thing?
A lot
Beadboard,
more shiplap. A lot
Yeah.
of the
board and batten.
Chip and Joanna things.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of siding type looks inside of the house. Where we'll do real wood molding in places, but it's not going to be your board and batten stuff. It's not your lap and gap.
Sure.
It's not stuff like that. It's just kind of gone to the wayside.
The shaker doors, cabinets everywhere.
We'll still do that. No, I don't mind a good shaker door, but some of the rustic old barn looking stuff that
Sure.
we just don't do anymore.
Tell me your thoughts on sliding barn doors inside.
Absolutely not.
100%. Thank you. I hate those things. We build them, and I'm like, I'm not building them anymore. They're
No,
terrible.
They are
Why, people?
a much
Just
better
why?
solution.
Why?
So here I am. I don't just tell people no. I'll give them a better solution. So the
Right.
better solution would be let's just build a pocket door.
Yes.
If you really want something that's sliding, let's just do a pocket door and be done with it.
Okay.
Because barn door, that's your modern farmhouse stuff.
Yeah.
But
Or you could have this thing that
It's
you
just out of
slide
style.
that bangs around, pops around.
Never understood it.
Yeah.
Kids are going to pull, yank on everything.
smashed fingers works.
No
But that's
thanks.
safe. Again, I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. That's
Right.
going to hurt your resale for sure.
Okay. So next one is brick or stucco facade.
Oh, so we are doing a lot of stucco right now, and
Okay.
quite honestly, I'm a little sick of it. I want to go back to brick. I really like the antique brick look.
Okay.
We don't do much painted brick anymore, but people still ask for that, and that's fine. It's not totally out, but it's kind of had its play. I like a good antique rustic brick with a slate roof would be awesome.
Now, when you say antique brick, is that different than like Acme brick, or is that all the same?
Yeah, no, it's true antique brick. So
Okay.
it's from. They named them after all of these different cities. So there's Dallas brick, there's Fort Worth brick, there's Chicago antique brick, and they all have different little color variations. But all the old buildings that they've torn down, they take the brick, clean all the mortar off of it, and resell it. Now it's the most expensive brick that they sell.
Sure,
but
sounds
it's,
like it.
it's a modular size. It's smaller, meaning you're gonna need more for the house.
Okay.
The bricklayer is going to take a whole lot more labor because he's laying more bricks,
Right.
things like that. But I like that look.
So that that kind of leads into my next one. Painted brick. What are your thoughts on
No,
that?
I'm doing a painted brick house now, which is, again, that's fine. If that's what somebody
Right.
wants, I'm more than happy to do it. I just think that the heyday of painted brick is kind of in our wake at this point.
How about Texas stone and brick?
What do you mean by Texas stone? Oh, the white,
The
white builder
like,
stone.
yeah, the Austin Looters or
I would do that on a ranch. If somebody asked me to build a ranch style house, I would do
Sure.
that with a standing seam metal roof.
okay.
But I would love that. That would be very beautiful out in land, like in
Kind of
Granbury
blend
or
in a
something.
little bit.
Yeah.
Makes it feel like it's a little more natural and from there
Yeah.
versus
a little more
artificial.
hill country.
yeah.
I would do that.
Okay, so what do you think about wallpaper in bathrooms. Are you pro wallpaper?
Apparently, it's making a comeback.
It's been making a
I
comeback
was
for
gonna
years.
say it's
We built a house for someone one time who she bought it as a spec home and wallpapered every wall and every ceiling in the entirety of the house.
the ceiling.
Yeah, the ceiling, that was a little too much for me. I love a little accent of wallpaper every now and again. The grass cloth stuff is doing really well.
Yeah, good texture.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it's something that you can change in and out if you want to, without too much hassle. It just adds a little bit of character, which I like.
Where are you seeing people really personalize homes today? Like
Where am I?
Yeah, maybe.
Like what spaces?
Spend more
Yeah.
time trying to figure out, do I want to do this in the living room or the outside or the patio or
Oh man, it all depends on their lifestyle, right?
Sure.
So are they big outdoor people and they want to spend a lot of money on their pool and their landscaping because that's where they're going to be spending their time?
Right.
Are they foodies? Are they culinary experts? Do they want to be spending their time in the kitchen? Do they want that kind of stuff? Are they entertainers? Do they want to spend that kind of money in the dining room, in the wine room?
And you get to
things
know
like that.
them in a way that you probably know answers and
Absolutely.
you'll talk about this.
built to suit? Built to suit.
So it's a case by case basis, but where people spend their most time is where they're going to spend their money, for sure.
And what rooms are those? I'm thinking bedroom, closet.
Probably master bedroom for sure, in the kitchen. We'll spend a lot of money in there too, and then landscaping are typically the three.
So master bathroom, kitchen, or master bedroom, kitchen, landscaping.
Correct.
Okay.
That's where people spend most of their time.
Right. Right. In April 2024, mortgage rates hit a 23-year high, topping 7% interest. How does that impact your business?
No, not necessarily in my ballpark. These are mainly cash buyers. They pay cash. They don't really take out loans for these kinds of things. They'll take out construction loans.
Okay.
Usually 6 million up is most.
That's
what I've
the majority of our product is 6 and up. But I don't see it affecting our home buyers. What it does affect is us personally, because on these spec homes, we obviously take out loans for these. And it's a fluctuating loan. It's a variable loan. So the rate changes a lot. So when the rates go up, that just hurts us. So we are very cognizant of what we do and when we do it and where we do it because of that. Because we don't know. I mean, tomorrow, what if they say, oh, interest rates are now 12%?
Yeah.
Then what do we do? Then it's going to hurt us more than it hurts my buyers.
Right.
For sure.
You mentioned before that a lot of times you'll have somebody from out of town buying, and Dallas, Fort Worth is seeing an influx of people from all across the country. Do you expect that to continue?
I do. As long as our market stays where it is and I was going to say politics. I'm not going to say politics. I don't really want to talk
You don't want to talk politics?
I don't want to talk politics at all.
We can talk politics.
But as long as our market stays generally insulated from the nation and how they fluctuate on home prices and things like that,
Cost of living.
Cost of living.
Stays the same.
We're pretty insulated in Texas, but we're even more insulated in DFW area, I think, from those fluctuations. So as long as we continue to have a low tax rate for properties and things like that, of course, we'll still see people living here, moving their businesses here.
Right.
I'm building a 12,000 footer right now for a couple that lives in New York.
Okay.
I mean, I don't foresee it stopping, but who's to say?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ever predict the future.
Sure. And whenever you talk to people that are looking to buy here, is there ever the conversation like, well, we're looking at Miami or we're looking at Nashville or we're looking at Dallas? Do you ever have to put on your like DFW hat and sell it? Or is it just they've kind of done that legwork for themselves?
Man, I'm not a realtor for a reason.
Sure.
I leave that kind of stuff to my realtor.
Okay.
No push, no shove.
I think what makes me good is that I know every little thing about the house. I'm not going to fluff some stuff up. I'm not going to BS anybody. I'm very straightforward, transparent. That's how I live my life. That's how I treat customers.
Right.
I don't need to sell anything.
Love it.
Our stuff sells itself.
Well, Ben with Alford
Thank you
Homes,
very
thank you
much.
so much for having us to your home and for sitting down with us.
Yeah, happy to be here. See you guys soon.
Good
Thanks.
stuff.